ensure that all of your valves are open before you start priming. Sometimes it needs a little help. I like to help it a little bit if I can tap it. Also, once you ensure the valves are open, come up here to your containers and make sure that your ink indicators are pressed down. And of course, when you run out of ink, you're going to hear this sound. The white ink's still empty. And that's the sound you'll hear, and the light will light up when your ink level starts to get low. And that's when you're going to want to get that ink in there before air gets into the lines. So I bought this LED light. It's for like photographs and doing videos, or like for, you know, doing product lighting. But I just took off the end and just use it for lighting up here. It kind of fits perfectly over the top cover. So now I can use the controls here and actually turn it on and off and get some light in the back there. So you get a little bit more light in there, and then you can kind of see. It's got different modes as well. That's probably the best one there. That one there. So yeah, just pick the best mode and for lighting, and you're good to go. And let's start priming. Okay, so let's get into the starting of the priming. So if you have to get to your back dampers, of course, to prime, this is our color, so we need to get to the back dampers. So you're gonna have to move your white dampers to get to the back dampers to prime them. So if there's ink in them, of course, then you're going to close off each valve. So just close. You do 2 clicks. There's 3 clicks. 3 is a little too tight. Just do 2 clicks, or 1 click is fine. And then of course, as you pull this off, as you pull off your damper, you're going to put on your drip stopper and just kind of leave it, just kind of set it down like that, and then do the next one. So again, clip it, pull it out, drip stopper. If you don't have clips, it's fine, because the drip stoppers will work just by themselves just fine. Just ensure as you're pulling out your dampers that you're not touching the sides, because as soon as you touch the side, that's when it starts to drip. So again, just make sure you're shutting it, drip stopper, close it, drip stopper, and then close it and drip stopper. And now we have access to our back dampers. So what I do is I kind of just take one at a time of these, and I set them just aside. So I'll take them in the order that they sort of go in. And I'll just kind of, as I'm putting it over, so I'm putting it through here, and I'm holding it with this hand, holding the damper still. Again, just as I'm putting them over, I'm kind of holding the dampers individually. I'm kind of just keeping them all together. And then once you have them, just kind of let it kind of build them up, or you can also get something like a tie wrap or something if you're going to be a while. But if you fiddle around for a minute, and it's fine because you have the drip stoppers on, it's not going to be spilling anywhere when you press on this now, so they can touch each other safely with that on, with the drip stopper on. So now, there we go. So now I have access. I got my damper set aside, and I have access to my color dampers. So let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is get paper towel. And you want to kind of fold it up and put it up along the sides so you don't get any, if you do spill by accident, you don't get ink down into the cables. So what we're going to do is we're just going to fold it once, and then I set it in like this. And that way it sits along the cable and inside there nicely. And then I just push down a little bit, just alongside, just beside them. Just kind of push it alongside. And so you can still work. You still have to be able to get to your damper. But this way, if anything spills there, the paper towel will absorb it. Now I can still work here and get into the damper, and my cables are a little bit more protected. So I'll just rip a few pieces and I'll stick it along each side and just kind of stuff it in there, just to ensure. You may have to lift these up just a little bit to get under all of your white dampers, and just kind of press it under there. Might take a couple of times to get good at this, that's all. Just take your time, because you want to protect your heads. They're a valuable asset on these printers, of course. Let's get these dampers back over, out of my way. Okay, I got protection here. Yeah, so now my sides are protected. I can still get into my dampers. And I'm gonna put a little piece in the middle here, so if I do drip in here, in behind here, it actually will collect it. So in that case, I'll just rip a piece about the width of the printer head. Then I'll just fold it into two. And then I'll just kind of stuff it behind it, so that if any ink does sneakily spill there, it catches it. So there we go. So now just set it in. And then what I'll also do is put one over my white printer head, over the white. I'll use the other piece that I just ripped off. I'll fold it once, and then I'll place it over that printer head. And I'll drape a little bit behind it. And again, you're just leaving, and bring it forward. You can use the back of it to stuff it in behind a little bit, like that. And then if anything falls in there, again, it's falling and collecting onto the paper towel versus into your printer head, causing a short. And then you'll need a new printer head. So now everything's protected there from paper towel from any drips. And now I'm ready to start priming the color. So it doesn't matter what side you really start from. I start from the right and then work my way to the left. Again, if you're individually doing it, then just take out the one that you need to prime and then do that, of course. In this case, I have to prime them all. So this video kind of shows you the whole thing, the whole process, so you have a really good idea and wrap your head around priming and how to get into this tight, seemingly, it's a little bit tight quarters, but we can get in here and work just fine as long as you do it properly. So, and that's what we're doing. We're moving everything aside. We're getting everything and making workspace for ourselves to make it nice and easy. Okay, so make sure also that you just have a small piece of paper towel to wipe the damper. So you can rip off a bunch of small pieces like this. And then after you prime, you just need to dab the damper a bit to clean it. So I'll show you that right now. That's what we're gonna do right now. So the first thing you do is we're gonna pull out our first damper again. So let's say I'm gonna pretend as if we have ink in it. So as you're pulling it out, you kind of wanna, this side's okay to kind of touch, but if you touch this side, the left side of the damper, that circle, if you push in on it or it touches something, it's going to drip and spill. So I just kind of move the first, like the hose is okay to move a bit. There's a bit of flexibility there in the hose. So just move it aside a little bit, get a good grip behind it. I usually get it with my middle finger behind the damper, and then I'll use my thumb and get the front of the damper, and then I'll push back to loosen the damper off of the head, and then I'll pull up and bring forward. So as I'm bringing it forward, I'm pulling up gently, and now not touching, again, not touching here as you pull it out. Do not touch this circle. We're pulling it out, and now we're able to prime it at this point. And now we do our priming. Okay, so make sure you have a nice grip of your head. Don't touch the circle, of course. Get your syringe. Now I'm pushing a little bit against the syringe with this hand, just a little bit, so I'm pushing against it, and I'm pushing in with the syringe a little bit so that it holds in that hole. And so now as I'm pushing them together, you can start off on the side. So now I've got to pull a bit through this one because it's new. So let me get the ink flowing through. Let's get that started. Okay, so here we go. So now the ink started coming through. So now, as you can see, so now we have ink starting to come through. You may have ink in there already and you just need to prime it better to get the air out. Sometimes air gets in there and you have like half a damper full of air, and that's going to create problems with your head. You're going to get, it might not be clogs in your head. It could be air pockets in your head. So if there's air in the dampers or lines, it's going to cause that. So again, as you're priming, just be wary, that you can spill here. So you can start off sideways and you can kind of start pulling that ink in. Now, once it starts to go into the syringe, you want to hold it more upside down. So you might have to push down a little bit, make sure that you're not bending the hose to get the rest of that ink out. And you want to get as much as you can out. Now, if you don't get it all, that's fine. But you want to get as much as you can out. And now, when I'm done and I see no air in there, I'll push back a little bit on the damper. See how it breathes a bit? So there's a bit of breathing there. So I'll push back just a little bit, just to get a little bit of a bubble out. Now, because you do that, there's pressure in the damper. So I'm still pressing the syringe against the damper and the damper against the syringe so I don't lose that connection yet before I pull out. I will get it over some napkin or paper towel and let it drip onto there if it's going to drip. So there's the drip. I kind of wipe off the syringe. I'll set it onto a paper towel beside me or something. In this case, it's just the skid. Now there's a little bit of mess in your damper. Take a look at the damper, make sure there's no air. Then I clean it with that little piece. So make sure that that's cleaned off. You've got no air in the damper. And then we put it back into the head. And so what I like to do after I get all the air out is sometimes if you do have a clip, you can close it until you get the damper in. And as long as you don't touch the side and get it into that head, you'll have a fully primed damper with no air in the line or in the damper. So now I've got it wiped. Now all you do is there's a little bit of hose here. You want to kind of push up on it. So push up on the hose so you have a bit of play. And you just be very slow and careful. Do not touch this side as you put it in. So just slow and steady will win this race. Get it in place, line it up on the head, and then press firmly down once you have it lined up so it sits right on that nub. And now we've got it on. I can open the line back up. If you have the clip, of course, open it back up. It's not necessary or required. Okay, and that is our cyan has gone through now, and now we can continue on to the rest of our dampers. So in between, you're gonna have a full syringe. You can just recycle that back into the container. And if you're gonna do a different color, just rinse it out with distilled water. and then do a different color and move on to your next color. Okay, so I've recycled the ink and I've rinsed my syringe and I'm ready to move on to the next damper. Now again, just move the hoses, just kind of push them back with the back of your hand. Use your fingers, push them back a little. Get down in behind the damper. I use, like I said, I get behind it with my middle finger and then I use my thumb and I get the front of it again, just push back a little bit. It kind of jumps out of position, and then just again, you got to be careful while you're doing this because you don't want to touch the sides. So bring it straight up and out, being careful, and over the paper towel just in case you do get a drip. And now we're ready to prime. Sorry, every line. Oops. Every line is empty right now. I gotta pull it through until it gets to the damper, and then I'll hold it upside down to get all that air out. So there we go. It started going into the damper. I'm gonna get all the air out of there. And now I'm gonna start pulling through. Again, start sideways if you want, but you have to get it completely upside down as best you can and get all that air out. And what I do is I push back and forth a bit just to let it breathe a bit to make sure it's all in there, especially with a new damper. I just want to make sure that there's no air and it's filled with ink. So now I know that's filled with ink. Push back a little bit, carefully come down. Again, over some paper towel. Sometimes you can do it good enough when you get practice that you don't get much ink out of it at all, and you just have to sort of just give it a little dabble. Keep everything nice and clean. Now, as I'm pushing into this, I can hold the damper at the same time and put my clip on. There. So now when I put it back, sometimes these dampers might fall aside if you don't have them strapped up. Just put them back. So now I have all the air out of here, and now I'm gonna put it back into place. So again, as we go back in, we just kind of press back on the hoses a little bit. You can hold it with this hand until you get a good position to actually hold the damper. And now when you're putting it back, you can pinch it by the top nub. Just be careful you don't pull too hard or you're not pulling because you'll pull it out, but you can grasp it and use it as control so that you don't touch the sides of the damper. And again, and lighting really helps. Make sure that you get a light so you can see exactly where you have to put it down into place, and then you apply pressure once you get it right over it and put it down nice and firm and quick, and that way it doesn't start spilling everywhere, because as soon as you start hitting that nub, it's going to start to leak out. Once you get it in place, just move that one there. Recycle, rinse, repeat. Okay, we're rinsed, time to repeat. Just until you get in there to the back. Pull out slow. Start sucking because I gotta get the ink flowing through. Here she comes. Now I gotta get it into the damper a little first. And I'll give myself full suction. And again, same thing. Just start sucking on sideways until it starts to fall into the syringe. Then you push down kind of. And again, you're holding it firmly and pressing against each other so that it doesn't slip. You want to be nice and straight. And then get that damper upside down. Get all that air out. Once you get all the air out, the only way to get all the air out is by holding it upside down. So you got to get used to this. And push back just a little bit. You push back to let it bubble out. And I'll pull that off. Dabble here. Hold it. Close it. Close it up high enough where you can leave yourself enough space if you're going to use the clip to actually grasp the top of this damper. And then again, just careful, slow and steady, right into position first. And then once you find that positioning, you push straight down on it and get it right in place. And then you can unclip it if it's clipped. And I just push them down straight beside it, right onto the top of the damper there like that. Okay, so again, gotta go rinse or recycle and rinse, repeat. Trying to put the camera on different angles so you guys can sort of get a good idea. So again, now we're on our fourth damper here, light magenta. So again, I'm putting my finger in until I get behind the damper, pushing with the back of my hand on the other hoses. I get my finger on the back of the damper, I'll put my thumb on the front. I'm going to push back, and as soon as I feel like a little toop, then I'm going to pull up or pull forward. You can pull up and forward at the same time. Sometimes it comes out, sometimes you have to go forward a bit, and then it'll kind of slip out of place. Again, watching that we don't touch the side as you pull it out and get it over the paper towel safely. And now we're ready to prime. There we go. Got it started. And again, just start sucking, pushing in, and bringing it down nice and low. And then kind of flip up as best you can, upside down, pushing back and forth a bit, and getting all that air out. Once all that air is out, push back a little bit, bubble it out, carefully bring it over the paper towel. Again, if you've done it a few times, you might not make a mess at all. Oops. And then from here, if there is a mess, of course, wipe it and hold and clip. Pinch the top, carefully flip back into place. Line it up, do not touch the sides. It's like the game of Operation. You don't want to touch the sides or you lose, especially the right side. That's game over. Or the left side. Left side's game over. So, with that one magenta, I'm gonna go recycle, rinse, and repeat. Okay, we'll rinse, time to repeat. Go behind there, push back, pull forward and up. And very careful. You want to go more to the right than to the left because that is where the bubble is. So I'm kind of making sure if it's going to go anywhere or if it's going to slip right and not left and touch that. Now I've got this out. I'm going to push the clip up enough to be able to grab that when I put it back. Let's get some ink flowing. black started first. I can feel the pressure now. Okay, we've got the yellow started. Once you have it started, again, you can pull a bit in sideways. Once it starts filling the syringe, start to get it down and in there without bending the hose. You may have to move around a little bit and watch the hose so it kind of falls down into place to make it easier so that you can actually get the damper completely upside down. It's a little bit difficult in these quarters, but it is completely doable. Just take your time, and practice makes perfect, of course. So now I've got all of the air out. I've bubbled it back a bit. I'm gonna pull out. Now, I've had some practice, so I don't really use paper towel. So now, because I get it, that's like basically clean as a whistle. So now just push it back into place, nice and slow, not touching the sides. Stay more to the right if you have to. Get it in that hole and then press firmly down. And then you can unclip it, push the clip down, and move to the next one. Again, rinse and repeat. Okay, we're rinsed, ready for our last damper here. Now with the last one, it's, again, just move that one white hose out of the way. Kind of get in behind there. You might just have to raise your arm up a bit to get in there. Again, pulling back and then forward and up and out. Start syringing sideways until it comes in. Now it started to come in. I'm gonna suck until I see it starting to come in the syringe. Now I know it's not going to go any higher than that. Got to get rid of that air pocket. Again, manipulate the hoses in the back to be able to go low with your syringe. And you can get smaller syringes if you want as well that'll kind of go right in there so you can get right upside down. Because sometimes it is difficult to get it upside down, but just move the hoses around, get it upside down and get as much air as you can out. All of it is better. If there's a slight little bubble, it's fine. Don't sweat it. But you want to but make sure you bubble it back out. There's our spit. Again, sometimes we'll get a little bit of a spit back. And clean it up. As I'm holding it, I'm gonna close it until I get it in, leaving myself enough space to grab it. Push down, clean the bottom. That. And again, carefully, just putting it back into place. Don't shake it around. You just want to get it over and line it up perfect. Don't touch the paper towel on the side, because it'll hit the side and then it'll start to leak. That's what you got to be careful with on the side, especially this side. If you have paper towel and it's kind of exceeding here a bit or putting pressure, as you're putting that damper back, it'll kind of rub up on it and you'll start to get your ink dripping into your head. And that's what we're trying to avoid here. So just slow and steady, take your time. Oops, let me spin you around to be the same as everybody else. There we go. Okay, so now all of our color are primed, and now we're ready to move to our white. So what I do when I move to the white, we're gonna use paper towel still, but of course I'm gonna pull this off. And then we can leave these on, you can leave this paper towel on the side, and you can leave the one in the middle. Well, no, take the one in the middle out. So take the one in the middle out as well, because once you have the dampers in there, it's gonna be hard to get to. Plus the fact that we're not working over it, so you can take that out. So now we can leave the side ones on. I've just pulled the two pieces of paper towel out, and now we can move on to our white. Okay, so now that we've done our color, what I do is I put all the dampers back. So if you have ink in it, of course, make sure you're not spilling it. So before I prime, because you have to prime them all. So pull out your drip stopper, and I start with the one that goes in the farthest, and then I put it back into place until I'm ready to prime. So I'll put them all back into place. and leave these clips closed for now. If you have clips, leave them closed. They're not fully necessary, but I like to leave them closed until we're done. So as I'm putting the white back, making sure the hoses kind of go up and bend the same way. If I have it this way, it's going to bend that way when I put it back. So that's not the way. Make sure as the damper goes back, it sort of flexes the way that it wants to. And it almost looks like a match beside it all the way along. So again, so come up, pull off the drip stopper, put it into place. And then I close these until after I'm done loading all of my ink. So I'll do that for each one. Again, just ensuring, oops, drip stopper off. Raise that up a little bit. Get it on the head. And I'll close it. Raise this up a little bit. Drip stopper off. Make sure it's bending the right way. And then put it in. And then I'll close it. Same with this one. Put it up just a little bit so I can close it. Make sure as I put it in that this hose is bending up the right way. Drip stopper off. Again, always watching and making sure you're not touching the sides. And that's why I start from the right side myself, is so that every other damper I put in after that, if I start from the left, I always have a worry about touching the left damper. But if I start from the right, at least I have no dampers all the way to the end. Now again, at the end, if you have paper towel here, you have to worry about it pressing against it. So just make sure when you put your last damper in that there's no impingement here that's going to touch that. And pull out the last damper, pull it up a little bit, close it, drip stopper off. I use my finger and I'll kind of push the hose into place. So if it's acting funny, you're like, why isn't it going in? Just use your finger or use your other hand if you want, however you want to do it, and just kind of set it in because it is molded to go a certain way. And then once you get that, of course, just put it in, not touching the sides, especially if you have ink in it. When you have a new damper, you kind of have to suck. Once you change the damper, you kind of have to suck at it. I forgot to close this one, so let me just close this up. So again, the closing of it's not necessary, but I'm going to explain to you why I do it, is because when you're sucking from this one, so they're all coming out of the same reservoir. So if I'm sucking from this one and these aren't closed, it sometimes wants to pull from this. So if I've already done this one, let's say, and I move to this one and I don't clip this one, it's going to want to pull from this one a little bit. So that's why I like to close them all off. And then I'll after I prime, I'll close, prime, close, prime, close. And then at the very end, I'll prime the last one, put it in, and then open them all up at the end. So, oops, then I'll open them all up. You'll see that. Okay, so before I start my white, I fold this over and then I'll fold it enough to where it's going to cover it. So sometimes it's like that, where it's like the size of the printer head. Then I'll fold it over, put some tape there, and I'm going to tape it right against here so we don't make any, just in case a drip happens again. We drip onto the paper towel and not onto the head. So I've got a small piece of green tape on it. I'm going to push down the sides on these. And I'll put it right almost on the head, just under the dampers. And then just kind of just press it along. And that way it's along your dampers now. And anything, as you pull it out, it's going to drip immediately onto the tape and then into the paper towel. Okay, so let's start priming. Again, it's just recycling and repeating in this. So just after this fills with white, go recycle it, repeat the process to the next damper. So let's move this. We're going to push back, pull up slowly, not touching the sides. You don't want to touch the sides again. Just going to keep reminding you in this video, don't touch the sides. So now we've got the white in, so now we can start to pull that through. And the reservoir is going to fill up first. before anything. So I'll kind of show that as I'm doing it. So all I'm really doing is priming the first damper, and I don't know, let's see if we can make it so that you can see that reservoir filling at the same time. Let me see if I can get sneaky here with the camera. So you'll see that start to fill as I'm pulling it through the damper. So all I'm doing is just pulling. And again, as I'm pulling, you can see that that reservoir is filling up slowly. And then eventually, it's just going to start to pull through each of these lines. Okay, so as I pull through the damper, you're going to see this reservoir start to fill, and then of course the dampers will start to fill. This line will fill when we put the regulator on. We'll do that at the end, but more than likely this is just a new printer. You guys will have white running through here, and you're going to be regulating it, but we'll go through that in this. So right now I'm just pulling the white, and it's going to fill this reservoir up for the first time. And again, I'm just pulling through sideways, and you'll see ink start to flow through into the reservoir and then start to fill this damper, of course. So here it comes. Oh, okay, so that's our in. So now it's coming in through here. It's the other side that won't get filled until we turn the pump on. So now we have the white. The white's flowing through, it's coming in here. Now it's going into all the dampers. So now I'm gonna hold this, and you can see that it's filled, now it's filling up in there, but it's also filling in my syringe. So I'm gonna put the camera back now. But essentially, that reservoir will fill up, and when we turn the pump on, it'll fill up the rest of the way. But right now, we're just gonna prime our dampers until we have no air, and then we'll do that after. Okay, so I got my first damper here. Again, you can start sideways and then hold it upside down to get the rest of that. Now, play with the hose. It might get stuck in a damper or something. Don't sweat it. Just move it over and hold it down so that you can get your damper right upside down. And then you're gonna pull back, go forward, pull back, a little bit forward, and pull back until you see no air. Once there's no air, just bubble it back a little bit. I'm going to cycle the white through it because it feels kind of airy without it being cycled. So let's do that quickly. So I'm just going to fill this up. We're going to cycle it. Okay, so before we start priming the white, we want to get the machine turned on. So I'm just going to, you can either turn it on from there, or a lot of people use the emergency stop and just kind of flick that up. And as you're turning it on, just make sure that your top cover is either on or there's no wires or anything. In this case, I'm turning the machine on. Every time you turn the machine on, you just want to make sure everything's clear. So in this case, I'm making sure that it's going to move a little bit just to adjust itself. And I'm just kind of turning it on and just kind of making sure this paper towel doesn't get stuck anywhere. So I'm going to fire the machine on, fire it up. Just watch that this just moves a little bit. Just wants to adjust itself to the capping station back to 0. Okay. Now once you've done that, you can come over here and you can regulate your ink, your white ink. Regulate your white ink. So turn your pump back up and it'll fill that reservoir up. So I'm going to turn the pump up and we're going to fill that reservoir up and then we're going to prime. Can you watch that and tell me when it starts pumping in the ink? Alice? What? When you got a sec? What? Just watch this and tell me when the ink starts to actually move into it. That white reservoir here, just tell me when it starts to actually fill up. Really?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
It is?
Yeah.
So we start pumping at 40. So don't turn your pump, or 40 or 45. Don't turn it up any more than 40, or don't turn it up any more than 50. 50 is the highest. In between 40 and 45 is a nice flow when you are regulating. Okay, again, you're gonna have all the clips closed. So we're gonna open the first one up, push back, pull forward, nice and carefully, not touching the sides so it drips. And then you're gonna get that syringe in there. And again, just play with the hose a bit until you can get it to fall in behind the dampers. There's the hose there, that hose there. And then, so you pull sideways and now you can lift it right upside down to get all that air out. So hold it completely upside down. Push back a little bit. And just push back a little bit so it bubbles out a little bit, not too much, because then it'll really squirt out at you. And again, holding it over the paper towel and just pulling it out just in case it does squirt. And then what I do here is we're gonna wipe the bottom. Just if the line's down there, bring it up nice and slow so that you don't hit anything. Wipe the bottom. Wipe inside the head if you have to, if it's dirty in there. Again, putting it back in nice and slow without touching the sides. And then once you get it into that position where it can go in the head, then you push down firmly. And then it'll stick in. And now we're gonna leave this one closed and open this one to do the next one. And then we're gonna continue that all the way across. So after we prime, we'll put it back closed, leave it closed, open the next one. So I'm just gonna recycle the white here and then we'll get to the next one. Okay, so we're moving to this one. Now these are really tight here. So you may have to sneak up behind and grab the back and push forward with your, like kind of control it with the hose and push back a little bit and then put your finger behind it. And again, you can get a pinch in there and you can pull up on this a bit. If you get a good grasp on the top where the hose is plugged into, get a good pinch on it, you can pull up a little bit from there. And then again, not touching the side, pulling it out nice and slow. And as you pull it out, you've got to get it upside down. So make sure that this hose you can bend downwards. So sometimes you might have to, as you're putting this hose down, you might have to move this hose over a little bit so that the hose will fall down so that you can actually get that angle to get it upside down to prime it. And then of course, when you're putting it back, just move and manipulate accordingly, and then you put it back into place. So let's get this primed. Upside down. All the air out. These are brand new dampers and lines, so I pull a lot extra just to really ensure no air for when I get that first nozzle check. So now I push back, I let it breathe a bit, push back ever so slightly, bringing it down over, paper towel. If you spill, wipe it up. Hold the damper, close it, manipulate that. You can manipulate that right back up. Like that hose, put it right back up. And that way when you're putting this back in, before you let go of this, you can actually move the hoses around to position it where you're gonna put it. And now, I will take it, I will get my hand behind the damper, and now as you can see, I'm holding it more to my right because I don't want to touch that circle. And then I put it in nice and slow, line it up. Right when you get it over the head, push it down right in firmly. Now you leave that one closed, open the next one. Pull it out, back. Again, I'm moving these three over a little bit, the hoses, to get to the back of this damper's hose. And now I got my finger on the back of this damper, I can push back a little bit, and I can use my finger here even to control it. So I'm gonna pinch the top where the hose goes into, that little nub. So that nub right there. And then at the same time, I'm pushing back, pulling up, I'm pressing up a little bit with my finger and pulling up with my hand. And that way I have full control of the damper. And now I can pull it out safely without touching the side. And then I'll hold it from the top firmly. And that way I can get a good hold of my damper now. And I can get in there to prime. Now again, we have to get it upside down. So pull the hose down so you have play with the hose here. And now we can get it upside down. So that's what we're gonna do here. I'm gonna pull through. I'm gonna have to recycle this syringe in a second, I think. Might be able to just get this damper done. Push back a little, no air, bring it down, one drip, wipe it up, wipe that drip up. As I'm holding it, I'm gonna close the damper, manipulate my hose back up. I'm gonna put that clip back in the middle so that way when I'm sliding it in, it's nice and easy. So now I'm gonna come up over the hoses, stick my finger in behind the hoses. Before I let go of this damper, I wanna have control of it. So now I've got the back of the damper. Now just make sure it's wiped. And now I can put it in, nice and slow, line it up, and straight in. Again, we're just leaving, if you're changing all the dampers or if you're doing more than one, you want them all closed except for the one that you're working on. So I've got to do this damper next. So again, I'm gonna push back with my finger, get in behind it, so I can pinch the top here. I'm pinching the top, pushing back, lifting up, and pushing a little bit with my finger up. And now I have control. Now I can take it. Again, bringing the hose down. Manipulate it down if you have to, push down a bit. Now that hose is down, and now I can prime that damper properly. Okay, I'll move there, pull sideways. Once it starts going in the syringe, just whip it upside down. I pump it back and forth a bit. You got to be careful when you do that, when you're pushing back, when you're letting it, if you want, you don't have to do this breathing technique. It's something I just do. but you got to pull back, get all that air out till you see no air bubbles. And if you have to push back, so I do the pumping thing, just if there's a little bit of air, it kind of moves it around a little bit. So then once I get no air, then I push back, let it bubble out a little bit with no air in it. Bubble back a little bit, no air. Bring it down, pull it out, clean it, stick a paper towel there, or a piece of paper towel. Again, holding it so you can close this, manipulate this up in between the other clips, and the clips kind of hold it into place to make it easier actually. Then I put my hand over this and I'll get a good firm pinch of the top of it again, holding the little nub more to my right so I don't touch it. Line it up right on the head. As soon as you feel it go into that nub, you can push down with this finger too, just to get it down. Leave that one closed. We're gonna open this one. I'm gonna push back, bring it up, forward, slowly. And again, now I want it to go down, so I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna force that hose down a little bit. So now I can get upside down properly, okay? So once you have it, again, this one twists, so the two end ones kind of really twist a bit. So they wanna, so just, if you see it that way, just turn it that way, and we know it kind of manipulates up into that way. So just make sure the hose, don't be twisting it the wrong way or it's gonna wanna go that way. You want the hose flowing in the direction that you kind of pulled it out in. So now we've got it in that direction. Got my damper open, clips open. Gonna suck until all that air is gone. Those little air bubbles are in the big air pockets. Don't be afraid to move around your syringe while you're sucking. Again, just keeping the pressure against the syringe and the damper. You're pushing towards each other so you don't lose that suction or you're gonna get ink everywhere. So we're upside down, no air. I'm gonna push back a little bit, pop it out a little bit, bring it down. A little bit might squirt, I can feel some pressure there. And just wipe the bottom. Holding the bottom, I close the top clip. Now I can hold this and manipulate it to where I want it. So I kind of just use the clips and I just push it in between the clips so the clip kind of holds it there, so I know when I push up it's going to kind of go up. So then I'll get in behind it. I'll push this left hose left a bit to give myself some space, and now I can pinch the top of this one. And what I'll do is I'll move the paper towel and I'll control this side with my finger. And sometimes you want to control it from a higher position, and a lot of light's a good thing. And once you get it over it, nice and straight in, then we'll open up this last damper and get that one done. So the last one, we're just going to push back. I'm going to control it with my fingers, pull it out carefully, like that. And then we're going to suck. I may have to rinse this one out. Yeah, I have to go rinse this. Oops. So just let that sit for a minute while you go recycle. Okay, the last one here. Again, just make sure that with the last one it's easier. You can you have a lot of play, but just make sure that when you're putting it back, it's falling back into that place, like the hose isn't twisted the wrong way. Just kind of let it fall out to where it wants to, and then just hold it up. Start sucking sideways until it starts to fill the syringe. Right upside down. Upside down. I'll let it breathe a bit. And back down. Pull out. No air. A little bit of paper towel. I'm going to block that. Close that. And again, just use your other hand if you have to. Move the hose to where you want it to fall. And you can use this hand to manipulate a little too. So just use both hands, manipulate that hose right back to where you want it, so when you put it back, it's going to be nice and easy. So now I've got the hose where I want it. Just make sure the bottom is nice and wiped. Again, watching out for this last part that you don't hit that paper towel on the side. Once you find that spot, press it down and in place. And now that you've got all your dampers in place and primed, now you can open up all of the channels. So let's open them all up. Oops. Okay. I push them down to keep it nice and neat. And they're ready for the next time I need them. There we go. Okay. So, nice and straight. Make sure they're all straight. Make sure that they're firmly pushed down. You don't have to do that with the clips. That's just something I do. So just clean up any mess that you've made around it. And that's pretty much it. You're ready to load ink. As soon as you change a prime or change a damper or something, you got to load ink and then do some cleanings and then see if it's good. So in this case, we're going to load ink and do some cleanings, and then we'll do our first nozzle check.